Thank you so much, sir. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming here and for USEF for having me here. It's been an incredible journey for me, especially in the past 2 years. Basically in today's session, I'll be talking about my life experiences, especially of the past 2 years that I've been traveling. And before my past 2 years, that was during my high school, as well as who I was when I was at school. And then I'll talk about what sort of decisions I had to make and what sort of things I wanted in life and what I wanted to do in life. So basically, I don't know if I'm going to inspire you guys today, but I just want to talk about my life and things that I've been doing and making myself happy. So before going into today's presentation, I have a very important philosophy for myself in life, and that's there's no one else in the world I want to impress more than myself. So everything that I do, everything that I've done in life is to impress myself. So I know you guys have a lot of questions because it's high, big time, college time application, SATs, ACTs, and everything else. So first of all, in the beginning of the session, I'm going to take in questions. So in the first half, I'm going to answer all your questions and queries that you guys have. And then in the second half, I'm just going to talk about my travels and my life and interesting things and showing you a lot of pictures. So if you have any questions that you want me to answer about my college application, that would be my SAT scores or my grades or things like that, you're most welcome. Or things that you expect to hear in today's session, you're most welcome to do that right now.
Don't decide, please ask questions.
You can ask as many questions as you want.
Did you submit any art supplements?
No, I did not. I did not submit any art supplement, but I applied early action to Harvard University, and I did not get in. And then I applied early decision 2 to York University Abu Dhabi, and I got in. After sending my application, they sent me an email and asked me to send an abstract of my research paper that I'm working on, and I did send my abstract of my research paper, so that might be considered as an art supplement, but it was more like an academic supplement. So if I were attending a session, the first question I would have in mind was my SAT scores. I gave my ACTs, and I want to be as transparent as I can in this session because I really want you guys to not be curious about who I am. So I really want to be transparent as much as I can so that you can take in as much information about me, right? So I gave my ACTs, so I'm pretty sure most of you know about ACTs. I gave it once, I got a 33 in my ACT. My transcript, I was in the top 10 percentile of my graduating class. I would say my grade average was around A-, but my internals and finals and everything, I also had pretty bad grades sometimes in my internals, but okay, this happens. Recommendations. There's a reason why I give thumbs up in the recommendations because I think my recommendations were really good. And my TOEFL, I gave my TOEFL and I got 110 in my TOEFL. So that's basically me in numbers, right? So now, if you don't have any more questions, I'd like to begin with who I was in the past. So that would comprise of who I was during my high school career. So I did my schooling at St. Xavier's School, and then I graduated and I went to St. Xavier's College, where I completed my A-levels. I graduated in 2013. So when I was doing my A-levels, I was this really enthusiastic guy who liked to do a lot of things. I played drums in a band for almost 4 or 5 years. So that's, although you might not see me, I'm back there playing the drums. I sing sometimes. I am a huge fan of mountain biking. I've been mountain biking for almost around 7 years now. So ever since I was a kid. So these are the things I used to do. A couple of more things. I loved playing football. So that's Rohit Dai. So I played with him once. I was the captain of the football team at St. Xavier's College. And I also played for the University St. Xavier's College team with bachelor's and master's level students. That's me in a mountain biking competition. So these are the things I really love doing. Moreover, at St. Xavier's College, I was the first batch of A-levels, so we started around 3 clubs. and I was also the vice president of the SET Council, so that's the student council comprising of almost around, 28 students from almost around 1,250 students and something. So I was the vice president of the council. I was in the St. Xavier's College debate team. I won the Kathmandu debates 2013. I coached St. Xavier's team and won Kathmandu debates 2014. And I was awarded as the best adjudicator in Kathmandu debates 2015. So I have been debating for a very long time, and I love debating. Furthermore, when I was in high school, I did a 2-year-long internship. So I think that was what really changed my perspectives in life. So in the first picture when I was playing the drums, it was GA, the Art Alumni Association, and I completed a 2-year-long internship there. So we had to organize a lot of things there. But apart from organizing a lot of things, the thing that highlighted the most was the location was in Tamil, right? So I was 15 years old, and I used to go to Tamil every evening after college, stay there till 9 or 10 in the night, and I used to cycle back home. So that late night in Tamil, it was an amazing experience, also because I met a lot of prostitutes. So I studied for 10 years in this brilliant school, a lot of extracurriculars, I lived my life, and then I go into this place and I meet a lot of people whom I consider aliens. And I never wanted to speak to them. And I always tried running away from them and all these social taboos that surround us and everything. And the more I spent time with them, the more I realized that I was wrong, that I was a failure, and that I was truly bound by stereotypes of the society, and I was not going out of the bubble that had bound me. So I thought I had to do something about my life. I might get brilliant scores, I might get brilliant grades, I might get into a brilliant college, I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be a surgeon, I might do that. But what's the point if you are a failure in life? So that was the day when I developed the philosophy that I told you guys about. I want to impress myself more than anyone else. So I wanted to explore my life. So this is what I did. So, I became sick. So I became sick of myself. So I wanted to explore my life. So after completing my high school, I was awarded as the outstanding student at Xavier's College. And my teachers thought I would apply to college as soon as possible and get into a good university. But I had a very big debate with them, and I said I want to travel. And I had a debate with my family as well, and I said I want to travel. No one agreed, of course, right? But the best part was when I was in 11th and 12th, I worked as a tutor and I worked as a documentary narrator. So I earned enough money to sustain myself. So I paid my fees by myself as well, and I had a foreign scholarship to attend school from grade 1 till 12. So I literally earned my living. So I had enough money to start traveling. So I started traveling. So I went to a lot of villages around Nepal. I taught kids. I worked as much as I can. I swam with the kids. I lived with host families, and I had a lot of experiences. And then I came back to Kathmandu, and I got a chance to coordinate the national spelling contest. I wouldn't say national, but the Ashur spelling contest that's regarded as the national spelling contest of Nepal. And I got the chance to coordinate the spelling contest. And that was the first time I was subjected to this really negative thing of education in the country, the disparity of educational standards between the private and public schools. So in the spelling contest, we had a lot of schools participating, right? But most of the schools, well, almost all the schools were private schools. So it was then that I realized we need to do something with the public schools as well. Why are public schools not participating in this competition? So I sent an email to the British Embassy, and they directed me to VSO. If you guys know about VSO, it's a voluntary services organization, and it's full of volunteers who work. And we had around 6 volunteers, foreign volunteers, British volunteers, and we trained the government school students. So we launched the government school education campaign for the spelling contest. And apparently one of the teams beat St. Xavier's School and reached the semifinals. So that was one of the biggest achievements of my life. And that was when I realized there's nothing wrong with the students. There's something wrong with the way they're taught, or the way the teachers are, or all these general things about schools don't have proper infrastructures, or we hear these things about there are not qualified teachers in government schools and everything. But I just wanted to find out the truth. I didn't want to follow the stereotype, because once I had followed the stereotype and I considered myself a failure, so I didn't want to fail again. So I started writing a research paper based on the educational standards between the public and private schools. And then after organizing the spelling contest, I got an email from the chairman of this organization, INGO, called Global Exploration, and he asked me if I wanted to guide a group of Dutch students traveling around Nepal. So I had traveled around Europe with Global Exploration when I was 13, so I had been working with them for quite some time, and they sent me an email and I said, yeah, of course, why not, right? So the students came in, I traveled with them, it was such an amazing experience. We went to a lot of schools, we had a lot of experiences, and I want to share one particular experience that I had when I was traveling with them. So we went to this remote school where Global had been sponsoring kids and funding the school for quite some time. I don't want to name the school. But once we reached there, we tried checking on the computers that we had donated. And out of 11 computers, 9 of them were not working. So I asked the principal what was wrong with the computers, and he said, the electricity is not good, so the computers are getting shut down. And I said, well, let me try and fix it. And then I started opening the CPUs, and I found a bunch of pencil leads. So apparently kids had been poking pencils inside the CPU because they didn't know how to use the computer. So there were leads of different colors. And then I took all of them and showed it to the principal. And he said something, and I really literally felt like punching him in the face. And it's a very negative statement, but I think I should say it. And he said, "Kami Dalitko chhara-chhariलाई computer diyo bhane yastai huncha." Right? So, you know, my life is based upon these experiences and how angry people got me and how upset people got me. It had nothing to do than just write about it. So that was what I did. After traveling with them, I came back to Kathmandu again, and I got another email. And they said, would you want to travel around Europe again? And I said, of course. So they took me to Europe again, and I traveled around Europe, talking about my life, talking about my travels, talking about my experiences. And I came back. I traveled more. So I traveled to a lot of places. So these are some pictures that they're in Mustang, Pokhara, Gumi, Ropa. I went to a lot of places. I recently came back from Solukhumbu, seeing Mount Everest. And then when I was traveling, I met these two amazing people. Maybe you know one of them, Pradeep. He's currently at Harvard University, and the other is Aishwarya, who is not studying yet, but most probably he's applying to college next year. So I met these two amazing people, and we started traveling together as well sometimes. And then I met this amazing guy when I was traveling around Netherlands. His name is John, and the guy in the middle, his name is Angbabu Sherpa. So I met John in a talk session that I had given in the Netherlands. And he stood up and gave me a standing ovation, and he came to me and said, I want to work with you, and I want to travel with you. He's apparently 60 years old, and I was 16. So we thought it was not a good combination, but he came down to Nepal. And during my 2 years, I always visited Sechen Gumba in Balta to meditate, to learn Buddhist philosophy. I'm really interested in Buddhism. So I spent the majority of my time in Balta. So my best friends in life. Then we started what now is Happiness for Life, the foundation that we together started, John, I, Pradeep, Aishwarya. And I consider this as a very informal initiative done in order to impress myself more than anybody else. So we started Achata almost around 2 years ago. And we didn't have any particular thing in mind, but we just wanted people to be happy. We just wanted kids to be happy. So what we initially started with was we motivated youths, especially my friends, to start traveling around Nepal. And one of my friends, he went to a school in Chapa, and he wanted to stay there for a month. And then we went together. I went to a different place, he went to Chapa. And then after a month, I called him and he said he wants to stay there for more. And in the end, he stayed there for 12 months. 12 months. So, you know, these experiences have made me who I am today, and it's really amazing to know that you were a part of change. We had other friends who traveled around Nepal as well. We started the first slum sports day in Nepal. So we basically take the kids from slum and we organize a sports day. So that's the first picture there. The other one is the work that we do with Spark Children Home. The other one is with the kids at Balta. This is the picture from the sports league that we organized. We had more than 200 kids. That's in Jewelry School. We organized the first orphanage exchange. I would say the first one, because we took the kids from an orphanage in Kathmandu and we took them to Pokhara. So it was like, I had traveled a lot and I wanted kids to travel as well, so we paid for their everything and we helped them travel, and yeah. So we started other things as well, but I've just included some of the things here. Sports, item distribution, that's what we do as well. The bottle house project, we build houses out of vodka bottles and beer bottles. Some of you know it very clearly. It's not looking good. But she was a volunteer with us as well. This was an idea that was initially started by Kevin Rowan Foundation in Nepal, and I got the opportunity to volunteer when we built the bottle houses in Phirping, and then we took up that idea and we started building our own bottle houses as well. This is the most important thing of my life actually. So John and I and all the other friends and families from Netherlands and from Australia and other places, we raise a lot of money. And part of that money goes to the sponsorship of these 4 kids. So we pay for their education, we pay for their transportation and everything. So yeah, we've been traveling a lot and we saw a lot of underprivileged kids and we wanted to support them. So right now 4 of these kids are studying in Pokhara and we pay for their education and accommodation. Bottle House project in Bhandari, which unfortunately had to be cancelled out because of the earthquake. More pictures. Okay, Indonesia. Now this is interesting because we started HFL in Nepal, and John, my friend, he lives in Indonesia most of his time. So we thought maybe it's a good idea to start the same thing in Indonesia as well. So we had, John had been doing a lot of informal things in Indonesia. So we gave it as HFL Indonesia, and we started things in a very formal level. HFL is registered as a non-governmental organization in the Netherlands. It's not registered in Nepal because apparently the registration process in Nepal requires a president, a vice president, treasurer. And I was like, we don't have anyone. So it's in Netherlands, it's just one guy registering the organization. We just wanted to work. It was nothing like I want to start up an NGO and get into the United Nations and stuff. We just wanted to work. We just wanted to support people. So that was it. So that's why we just registered as an NGO in the Netherlands, and it was easy for us to get the funds from Netherlands. So our funding mostly come from Netherlands and from Australia. So pictures from Indonesia, we built a culture center in Borneo. So Borneo is a place in Indonesia, and it's home to the indigenous people called the Dayak people. So the Dayak people live in Borneo, and there's a lot of problem these days in Borneo because of the deforestation. And if you guys know about orangutans, the orange monkeys, not exactly monkeys, but orangutans. John used to work with them before, and realizing that Dayak culture is slowly fading away, we decided to build a sort of a museum and call it a culture center. So it's this is what we built in Indonesia. People working. Whoops, that's a nice animation. Indonesia, such pictures. And I think this one's very interesting. So this is also one of the projects that we started in Indonesia because there are a lot of kids who do not get ample health facilities. So last time we had a girl who had swollen lips. She was this really gorgeous girl, but she had her lower lip really swollen and she was really depressed. So that was when we started raising money, especially John, he's the one who does everything. They started raising money and we took her to the hospital and did an operation and now she's better. So we've done it for almost 5 kids now, and he's the latest. His name is Ryan and he cannot see. And apparently it can be cured. So now he's undergoing his operations right now. So I just got a picture of him in the bed because he's not better yet. And hopefully he will be better in the near future. And when I was doing this, I was still writing my research paper, and I had started a project called Education Beyond Borders, Nepal. It was a project under Happiness for Life, and I got an award from Harvard College Social Innovation Collaborative called the Global Trailblazer Award. So it had already been 1.5 years since I was traveling, and I had almost very little intention of studying right now. So I still wanted to travel. And I got this award for the project that I had started. And they invited me to Harvard. And it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. Partly because of the fun and everything and the name Harvard, but partly because I then had my mentor, Professor David, who started helping me out with what I had to do in the future. So Professor is from Harvard School of Education. And he told me something that really changed the way I thought about life. And he said, how many places have you been in Nepal? And I said, maybe around 15 districts out of 75. And he said, what makes you think that you can implement a project by looking at 15 districts that would work in all the 75 districts of Nepal? And I said, well, I don't have time to travel to all the 75 districts. And he said, are you in a hurry to launch this project? I said, well, no. And he said, don't do the project right now. Travel more, gain more experience, get a formal education, learn a lot, and then maybe it's going to be a right time for you to implement a good project that would hit the national level. And I was really serious about this project. I had sent a lot of emails to our Prime Minister, Babra Matrai, and he invited me to his office, and we spent less than an hour talking about my research and the project that I wanted to do. And he really supported me with the project. And I was really taking it to a really big level. I was meeting all these people. I had lunch with the British ambassador himself. I was doing everything it took to launch this project. And I go to Harvard, and this guy tells me, maybe you're too young for it. Yes, I was 18, right? And then I thought, okay, I'm going to travel more. I'm going to have more wisdom. I'm going to study more. I'm going to know more about things. So I came back to Nepal, and I had applied early to Harvard. I didn't get in. Although I was not devastated, I was sad, partly because I had been to Harvard, they had awarded me, and I really expected to get in, but I did not. Another story. And then I thought, after coming back from Harvard, I saw how students used to study for 22 hours a day. I saw how tough the environment was at Harvard, how academically serious it was. And I'm this guy traveling around. So I thought, it happened for good. So now I need to find a college, irrespective of the name. So now I need to find a college where I think I truly fit in. So I was exploring a lot, and then this happened. So New York University Abu Dhabi. I sent an email to the outreach officer at New York University Abu Dhabi, and she responded really well. And she said she was coming to Nepal, and she invited me to Yak and Yeti for a wonderful buffet. And we had a wonderful talk session for almost 1.5 hours, and we spoke about New York University Abu Dhabi. And she explained me everything. And I thought I really fit in well with New York University Abu Dhabi, partly because of their global network and the opportunities to travel. So what did I want in life? I wanted an education, true. I wanted to travel around the world, true. I wanted to explore my intellectual capacity. I wanted to be in an environment where I could literally explore liberal arts. I didn't want to be in an environment where everyone knew what they wanted in life. I didn't want to be in an environment where I would see people treating cancer patients from the very first day at college. I wanted people who didn't know what they wanted in life, just like me. So I knew I wanted to apply ED2 to a liberal arts college. So I narrowed down my list, and I had 3 colleges where I wanted to apply: New York University Abu Dhabi, Swarthmore College, and Dickinson College. Partly Dickinson because of the unique environment there for students who think they're rebels in a positive way. But then I applied to New York University Abu Dhabi because I thought I really was a fit there, and all the opportunities I could really grasp and travel. And we have this January term thing where you can travel to a different country. You can go to France, you can go to Italy, you can go to Argentina, you can study for 3 weeks in January. And if I'm majoring in physics, I can do a course in fashion designing in Paris in January. And that's really cool. So it's, I wanted that. I had taken classes at carpentering, I had taken classes in gardening. I cut hair, I love cutting hair. I do a lot of weird things. And I wanted a place where I would be accepted to do a lot of weird things. And Abu Dhabi does not sound that place, but New York University Abu Dhabi does. So I applied ED2 to NYU Abu Dhabi, and I got in. I improved a lot of mistakes that I had in my application, partly because of my friends I made at MIT and Harvard. I was working on this project with a guy at MIT, and he really supported me in the later half of my application when I was applying to New York University Abu Dhabi. And so basically, after I came from Harvard, I wanted to improve my application, and I sent my essays to 2 friends who, well, Selena, who is at Harvard, who graduated from Harvard this year, and Sam, who is at MIT. And they looked at my essays, and they gave me a feedback 1 day before the deadline. And they told me my essay was not that good. Well, it was good, but it was not that personal, and I was capable of writing much more things. So I had to change my essay in the last day, and I was at program, and I apparently changed my essay, and I have my essay right now, which I'm going to read it out, because I truly feel you guys are curious about what I wrote in my essay, right? So I really want to read my essay out. I don't know. I like my essay, but you might not like it. Now, I'm going to ask a question. What do you think I wrote on my personal statement? About my travels. Is that it? Yeah. Cooking. Cooking. Someone told you cooking. Okay, so yeah, I wrote about cooking. I took cooking classes when I was at school, and I was apparently the only guy in the class. Good thing, right? And it was something that I never thought about. But I loved cooking. I cooked a lot. I baked a lot, more than cooking I baked. So I thought it might be a good idea to write about cooking. So I'd like to read my essay, and I hope to get very good feedbacks, well, negative, positive, but feedback from you guys. So the title of my personal statement is Bon Appetit. It's a French word. Here it goes. When you are born into a Hindu family, the menstrual cycle of the female head affects everybody in the household, and I don't mean that as the preconceived notion about female behavior at that time of the month. At the age of 12, I completed a ritual that marked my transition from childhood into adulthood. Life was becoming hard for me. I had to wake up early in the morning and shower, sometimes even with cold water. I had to wear a piece of holy string around my body, and the constant irritation caused was indescribable. I could no longer have food made by females who were on their periods, the time when our religion says women are impure. Since I am the only male of the family, and my elder sister knew nothing of cooking, I became the sole cook of my family for 4 days every month. While this certainly affected my freedom as a young adult, my obligation became my secret hobby. I loved spending time alone in the kitchen, rummaging through flavors, colors, and all sorts of pots and pans. Living in a patriarchal society, I was always cautious to not let my growing love for cooking out, because I didn't want to be made fun of by my friends. But as I stood tall in my kitchen, all my repressed angers would melt down along with the butter in my butter chicken. As I grew older, I grew fonder of experimenting with flavors. On days that I felt indestructible, I brought Italian and Thai to the kitchen. The sparkling clean plates of my mom and my sisters after dining otherwise suggested that they largely appreciated my talent. I started making dinner on general days too. While my friends spent time with their PlayStations, I'd be arguing with my grocery seller about the recent price hike on onions. I'd come a long way from ordering my mom to make me my favorite dishes and having the nerve to complain about the taste, to appreciating the time and efforts he would put into these dishes just so I could have a content belly. I decided to come out of the kitchen cabinet. Irrespective of my friends' bigoted perspectives and the social stigmas around me, I said it out loud and proud. I cook, and I cook rather well. Sometimes I regretted this revelation because I would be made to cook birthday cakes and dinners for my friends. Regardless, I enjoyed every single moment of cooking anything immensely. Cooking has made my travels more fulfilling. I've made many friends after sharing favorite recipes, from Tibetan sampa to American burger. I've learned to appreciate cultures by learning to cook my foreign friends' native delicacies. Cooking to me isn't just a hobby, a trivial pastime. It is a challenge I've learned to overcome, a personal and a social challenge. It is a lesson from my very own Hindu mother about respecting my culture, tradition, and understanding the meaning behind my responsibilities and carrying it out. Working outside my designated gender norms has made me more confident, courageous, and liberal. And perhaps the most important lesson that I've rendered from cooking is that in life, the things we consider a burden or a responsibility that we don't want to carry are often opportunities in disguise. We can complain about it for the bitter part of our lives, or we can make peace with it and help them shape us into a better person. So this is what I wrote for my personal statement, and I love it because I think it's me. It's my story. It's personal as well. So yeah, I wrote other essays as well, and if you guys want to read my other essays, you can send me an email, and I can send you my essays. My friends consider my other essays to be better, but I really like this essay. So yeah, I'm actually done with my presentation actually, so now we can talk about the questions that you guys have. And now you can ask me details about the travels that I did and other things and what I do right now and what I want to do in the future. And if you have any questions about or queries about how you want to select colleges or what sort of questions you have or anything like that, you can just ask me right now. Yeah.
So, do you plan to transfer to New York University in New York or stay in Abu Dhabi?
Well, a lot of people who got into New York University Abu Dhabi, they want to transfer out. But I don't see a reason because if I want to study in New York, I can always go and spend a semester there. I can even spend a year there. So it's not worth transferring because if you want to transfer, then you're not going to get a scholarship. So basically, I wouldn't transfer. Also NYU because that's a very good question. Also because when you're applying to colleges, you either see liberal art colleges or you see colleges with a large student number. And I think at NYU Abu Dhabi, if you want a liberal arts college, you can I didn't take chemistry, but I didn't send my scores anywhere because I applied ED2 and I gave my SATs after getting rejected from Harvard. So I didn't even send my essay to Harvard. I had another essay that I sent to Harvard. So all my things were just for one university, ED2, and I didn't send my sets of scores. Questions?
So Rastra, how did you find the balance between your traveling life and academic life?
Okay, traveling life and academic life. I didn't travel when I was in high school. So when I was in high school, I used to go to college, study, work with the student council, and then work as a tutor, and then my internship. And after college, I started traveling. And I did not do any formal academics in the 2 years that I was traveling. But I did read a lot of books. So I love reading books. So I had a book every time I traveled, and I read as much as I could during my travels. So now, yeah, well, I'm going to university after 2 years, so I certainly have to revise a lot of concepts in mathematics and other things because it's crucial that you are good at mathematics. So yeah, that's the negative part about taking 2 years of gap, right? You have to work hard now. Any more questions? Yeah.
When did you first travel? It's a series of questions, okay? And where was it? How did you find it? And like, what did you take with you, like in your backpack, and all that?
The first travel, the first solo travel that I did was to Europa when I was 17 years old. 17, yes.
Sorry, that was after you completed.
Yeah, after I completed. So that was the first solo travel that I did. I went to Europa. Because the women I interacted with in Tamil were mostly from Europa. They were women affected by the Maoist insurgency in Nepal. My backpack. I had 5 Snicker bars. I had a Swiss knife. I had a book. I had 2 books actually. I had Do you guys know a book called Matilda?
Yeah.
So I had Matilda in my bag because that's the book that was the second book that I read in my life, and it was something that really forced me to start, not forced, but inspired me to start reading books. I had clothes, I had some money. I went to Liwang in Rolpa, and I stayed there for some time. I knew this guy who was living there, and I stayed with him. I traveled around for some time, and then, yeah, so that was my first travel.
So what did you do then?
Nothing actually. I just went there because I didn't know what I had to do. So I just visited some schools. I looked at the teachers. I stared at the kids. I went to the hills. I stared at the hills. So basically, it was just finding myself, right? So I thought I had lost myself. So it was just looking at things. But after I came back and the spelling contest happened, then it was truly, I realized that I had to do something that made sense. So, yeah. Questions?
Before HFL, did you officially get into some organizations?
Was I involved?
Yeah.
I did a lot of things with a lot of foundations. I did a lot of projects with Global Exploration, the NGO from Netherlands. I was involved with a lot of things, but not as a formal member or thing. It just, I never did something to impress others. It was just for myself. So it was
No long-term projects?
no. Well, no long-term projects, but the only long-term project that I had in mind was about education, which I'm still working on right now, but it is really way long-term in that sense.
Did you travel after earthquake?
Sorry?
After this recent earthquake?
Yeah, well, when the earthquake hit, I was traveling around Australia. I was actually learning how to surf, and I checked my Facebook, and Pradeep, my friend, he had sent me a text, and I had like 41 messages, and I asked myself, is it my birthday today? And then I looked at his email and message, and he said, Kathmandu is no more, 8.1 earthquake hit, everyone is dead. And I was like, and then I tried contacting people here, and no one was online. Phones were jammed, and I went back to the place I was staying in Sydney with my godparents. So I have Australian godparents who brought me down to Australia, and then I was there with them, and I switched on the TV, and everything in the TV was about Anzac Day. So apparently in Australia it was the Anzac Day. So Anzac has a long history with the Australians. And there was nothing about the earthquake, and I was really pissed off. And I had to wait there for an hour, and finally I could call home. And my family were safe, and then I took the next flight to Kathmandu. I came here. I went to Nuwakot. The third day I came back, and the second earthquake hit. The house next to the house I was collapsed. And my mom persuaded me to come back to Kathmandu, and I came back to Kathmandu. And I took a job. I'm working as the guidance counselor at St. Xavier's College right now, and I took the job. And I got an email from Himalayan Trust. It's this foundation started by Sir Edmund Hillary, and they were doing a project with this Kumchung School Association from way up in Solukhumbu, and they asked me if I wanted to travel to Solukhumbu and see Everest and meet with the students there and counsel them with the future. So I went to Solukhumbu. I came back a week ago. And before that, I camped in Kokani, so I camp alone. So I have a tent and sleeping bag, and every weekend I go somewhere and I camp, I cook. I have a little barbecue maker, so yeah.
Leaving behind your love for traveling, you two single bright student, everybody has particular dreams, like you want to be a doctor, engineer, or something like that. And you want to spend your life only just by traveling, or you want a certain particular goal in your life?
Now when I'm thinking about it, I think I want to be a lawyer. So basically, after completing my 4 years of undergraduate studies, I'm thinking of applying to law school, but you never know, I'm not sure of it yet. But I certainly do see myself working in a very serious field for maybe 6-7 years, but I don't want to stop being who I am. I need to exist, I need money, right? So basically I want to have a certain backup now, but I do want to travel. More questions?
Apart from traveling, how's your social life? Like, do you go to movies? Do you hang out with your friends? Stuff like that?
I don't watch movies actually. I dislike watching movies. I read. And there's this really big hype about Lord of the Rings and Hobbit, and all these things, and I was like, I'd never seen anything, and everyone's, you have to see it. And then I started reading Lord of the Rings, and like 5 pages, I said, I'm done. Not going to do it anymore. So, social life. I do have friends, some of my friends are back there. I do have friends, but I never had a, like a circle, a group of friends, right? So I was always with different people. Even in high school, I was sometimes having lunch with people from bachelors. I never had, so it's like best friend sort of thing. I had a lot of people I knew, but it's not like friends with whom I go to movies or friends with whom I don't know. I do have friends. I consider myself a social human being, but I never allowed my friends to restrict my potentials. I never allowed my friends to cut down my wings, because I've seen a lot of people who don't apply because of their friends, or who do something because of their friends, who drop their subjects because of their friends. So I always try to be in a friend circle with friends who would support me. So sometimes it was the CEO of a foundation, sometimes it was diplomats, sometimes it was parents of my friends. So I surrounded myself with intellectual people so that I could widen my potential and horizons. Yeah.
So you first decided to travel.
Yeah.
Did your family approve of your decision?
No, it's something, it's something very funny, because I lied. I said after I graduated, I got the Best Student Award from St. James College, and that convinced my mom that I was doing good. And I said, there are 2 deadlines. One is the early and the regular, so I'm going to apply in the regular, so I have some time before applying in the regular. That's what I told my mom, and she said, okay, then you can go if you have time. So apparently after I came back, the regular deadline was already gone. And then I told her, I'm applying in the spring deadline. And then the spring deadline was gone as well. And then finally she realized that I wanted to travel. So she said, well, I don't want you to cut down your wings, but you just need to make sure that you're doing the right thing. But after things started to fall in its places, and we had the foundation going on and the research going on and everything, she actually supported me a lot. So, yeah. So in the beginning, more than my family, there were other stupid people in the society who were like, you're ruining your life and everything else. And it's really difficult to listen to these people and know that they are affecting my family in some ways. And although they didn't affect me much, they did affect my mother, and my mother used to get upset when people were talking shit about me. But then I thought, they don't have anything else to do, so that's what they're doing. And now these are the same people who are like, so it's the thing is, sometimes you know what you want in life, sometimes you don't know what you want in life. Sometimes you have friends who are willing to support you, sometimes you have friends who are not willing to support you. So you're going to meet a lot of people who want to cut down your wings, right? So the option is yours. You need to make a choice. You need to say what's right and what's wrong.
Didn't you prepare immediately after completing the A-levels for SAT or ACT?
To be very narcissistic, very narcissistic, and it's coming in the video as well, I did not prepare for my standardized tests. I prepared for my SATs, but I gave my ACTs. I had a conjunctivitis in my eye when I operated for my exam. I went to Radhamangla with a sunglass on and how do I say it? A pipe thing on. I could not open my eye, so I had it bandaged. So I had to give my exam with one eye, like this, and I got a 33. So I think standardized tests are something that test your knowledge that you have gained from a very small age. That's my humble belief, and I believe that the fact that I read a lot of books and I loved writing since a very small age really helped me with my standardized tests. But now you need to ask the same question to yourself, if you've been doing that for a very long time. If no, then you need to start writing right now. Right? But then if yes, then you know how, I'm not going to say easy, but it's not that difficult. I'd like to share a small story that got me actually reading. I had a teacher, Brother Clarence, at St. Xavier's School, and he was our English teacher, and he used to say, if you find any mistake in a book or in a newspaper, I'm going to give you a Toblerone. And back in the days, Toblerone was a treat. So I went to the library, and a friend of mine found a mistake in the newspaper, and she got a big white Toblerone. I still remember that Toblerone. And she did not even share it with me. And I went to the library very much concerned about finding a mistake in a book. And you know what I found? I found William Shakespeare writing, and his book was Hamlet. And the first word in the book was THOU. And then I said, this is a mistake. I said, it has to be the, it's not the how. It has to be the. And then I took it to brother and I told him, here's a mistake. There's mistake everywhere in this book. And he looked at me and he's like, read this book. I think I was in grade 7. And they told me to read this book first, and then come back to him again. And then I read it, and I read that book. I don't remember anything, but I do remember reading that book, not understanding anything. But that was the first book I read. So it's sort of a very interesting story to say that you read Hamlet when you were in 7th class. But it was a mistake, but that mistake proved to be very beneficial for my life. Questions?
As you look back, St. Xavier's School, how was it? Your life, like you were class leader or something, how much were you recognized by the teachers and everything?
St. Xavier's School?
Yeah.
The
famous guy or something in school?
Well, St. Xavier's School, I was in the football team. I loved playing football. I played the drums, right? So I was playing in a lot of competitions, football matches. I loved running, athletics, swimming, debating, and all these things. Yeah, captains, vetoes, and everything. So, well, yeah, it depends on how you want to define popular guy, right? So popular among the teachers, yes. Popular among friends, yes. Yeah, popular. People knew me. Even at St. Xavier's College, I think I was popular at St. Xavier's College. People knew me from bachelor's and master's and +2 as well, especially because of the student council and hosting shows and everything. So, yeah, I wanted to compliment myself. Yeah, I was popular. One question? So, are all of you applying to colleges this year? Next year. So like, not this year. Aren't you applying this fall?
Next.
But attending university next fall, but applying this fall, right?
No.
Do you have any questions about applying and finding colleges and supplements and or more questions
what are
about
the extra things that are required instead of their academics
I think now you're going to meet a lot of people in life. Some people are brilliant. Some people are like me, who don't care if they're brilliant or not, but just want to live their life. Some people don't care how they live their life. They just want to get into a good university. Because that's what they think is the end of their life. I get into Yale, that's it. But for me, life begins there, right? So, the entire thing about college application, according to my knowledge and my interaction with admission officers, not just American universities, but I apply to a lot of universities all around the world, is if they think you are true to yourself and you want to build yourself a better person, and that you can actually put that in the piece of paper that you're writing, the personal statement, I think you're good. However, a college is a place where you study, and an American college is a place where you study in English. So SATs is extremely important, and more than SATs, your level of English, especially your writing and reading, is extremely important for you to flourish in college. Because even if you are taking classes in physics, you still have to take classes in English and other things. So I think the best way to go forward now is to think truly of yourself and things that mean something to you. Now, I want to ask everyone a question. How many of you know the correct definition for inspire? I-N-S-P-I-R-E, inspire. A phrase, a definition of inspire. You can raise your hand and give me the definition right now. Inspire.
To find yourself in someone.
To find yourself in someone. Inspire.
Motivate.
A correct phrase given in the illustrated dictionary, Oxford Dictionary. Inspire. No, right? We don't know. This is something we take for granted. Do we know the difference between inspiration and motivation? Do we know the difference between inspiration and persuasion? Now, this is something that we think we know. And we do know this thing, but we don't know this thing. This is something that we can maybe explain it in Nepali, but this is something that maybe we cannot explain it in English. Right? So, we as people take a lot of things for granted. So, the minute you stop taking things for granted, the minute you appreciate every little thing that happens in your life, trust me, if it's just about college application, you're going to have a stellar college application. And there's this very nice question, because I work with a lot of students at St. Xavier's College, and they ask me, they don't know what to write in their personal statement. And I say, you need to explore. And they say, I do explore. And I say, well, so you explore by sitting down in your chair, watching TV. So basically, if you want to explore your mind, you have to explore your body as well. So you need to travel, or you need to do something, or you need to go somewhere. And that's when the real idea comes in. Right? So you cannot stay idle right now, guys. It's the peak youth time. You guys are young. I'm young as well. So it's the peak time that we should work hard, that we should think about things that have made sense in our life, even small things. So maybe I should have written about the foundation and sponsoring 4 kids in my college application essay. Maybe I should have written about captaining the football team. Maybe I should have written about my research paper. But I chose to write about my personal statement about cooking, because that was something that was me from a very small age. All the other things were mine, but this was me. And I didn't want to write about things that I owned or that I had or that I achieved, but I wanted to write about myself. So you need to be sure about what you want to write about, because there are other places where you can talk about your achievements. You can ask your teachers to write about your achievements in the recommendations. You can talk about your achievements in the activity center. But personal statement, just make sure that you're writing about something very, very funny, humorous, emotional, something like that, right? So you can write about the lovely beard the gentleman has over there, how he loves his beard. I'm very serious about it. It's true. You can write about that. You can write about your glasses. You can write about your favorite pair of shoes. You can write about something. I knew a guy who wrote about a water bottle that lasted him for 6 years. So I wrote about, so my previous application essay was about my bicycle. So how I traveled with my bicycle and things. So just figure out small things and make sure that you can differentiate yourself and you can create your own identity in a piece of paper. And that when the admission officer actually reads your paper, he or she knows what sort of a person you are. Yeah? Questions? More questions?
The water bottle guy got admissions.
Yes. Yeah, he is studying in America. Yeah. I don't know which college. Yeah, he did get admission. So people write funny essays, people write crazy essays. And make sure that you try to figure out essays that Nepalese have written, right? Because a lot of times when you read application essays, they do not resonate well with you because they're either written by Americans or by Europeans. So you need to make sure that you can find essays written by Nepalese so that you can know what sort of essays you need to write. But don't copy those essays. Yeah.
Despite the research group in your college actually about other works that.
Yes, that is also very much, well, when I applied to Harvard, I was just, okay, I'm not going to see this now, but when I applied to Harvard, I was not sure about a lot of things. I was not sure how to link my application and everything, right? But the fact that I could meet an NYU representative before applying to NYU really helped me, because he told me what were the things I should include in my application and everything else. And even after I sent my essay, I got a call from NYU and they told me to send another essay about my research. And they called me and asked a lot of questions as well. And they invited me to Abu Dhabi for the interview. So it was right. It was like I had an application where everything about me was written, from sports to music to academics to my travels, to my research, so I had a recommendation from my research mentor. I had 2 recommendations from my chemistry and physics teachers. I had 1 recommendation from my counselor. I had 1 recommendation from a Harvard alumni who knew me since I was 6 years old. So he basically funded me and sponsored me with a lot of things that I was doing, travels as well. He's my godfather as well. He lives in Australia. I took his recommendation as well, and I took a recommendation from my debate coach because I was debating a lot. So accordingly, I sent my recommendations to different colleges. So the recommendation that the maximum number of recommendations that I sent was to Vanderbilt University, and Ashim is there, he's going to Vanderbilt University there. But I sent maximum number of recommendations to Vanderbilt University, where I had to withdraw my application. Yeah. Other questions?
Do you kind of write travelers blogs?
Sorry?
Do you write travelers bloggers?
Do I write blogs? Yes, I do. I do write a lot, but I don't publish them. It was recommended by one of my teachers that I don't publish my writings now if I'm serious about producing a research paper, which I am. So I will publish it in the near future, but all at once. So everything will be published all at once. So we talked about who I was in the past, what sort of activities I was involved in, how I loved music, how I loved sports, how I loved traveling, how I loved mountain biking, how I loved the kids I've been involved with, how I love my friends, how I love my family. But now let's talk about who I am right now. So this is a picture I took when I was trekking in the Himalayas. And I went to this children's home, and I asked this little girl out there if I would hug her for the picture. And she said no, and she rather hugged the pole. So it was a very embarrassing yet amazing moment for me. And it's just, I wanted to share it with you because I didn't want the session to end with blank questions and stuff. Personal statement, which I've already read. So now the last thing is who I am right now. So I'm this guy who wants to live a happy life. I want to be as transparent as I can. I want to be as helpful as I can to people so that you achieve a lot of things in life as well. I want to be myself. I want to be happy. I want to always be the way I am. I don't want to be stressed. I don't want to be depressed. I don't want to be, a typical college student who studies for a very long time and stresses out, or a typical college student who parties a lot, or a typical college student who does not care about academics. So I don't want to be someone known because he goes to NYU. I don't want to be someone whom you guys know as a guy who got an award from Harvard SIC. I don't want to be known as the guy who did this. I want to be known as the guy who I am. So basically, every one of us, each one of us, have a very unique personality, right? Every one of us have different strengths. All of us have weaknesses as well. So it's up to us whether we want to live with the weaknesses or we want to improve the weaknesses and turn them into our strengths. So apart from a lot of things that I said in the session, in the end, I just want to see something. I love writing quotations. I want to see something that should resonate very well with you. Here it goes, I quote. There are a lot of times in life when you need to let go of your passion. So there are certain times in life when you need to let go of your passion and work on something else, so that in the future, you achieve that same passion again. So you guys are passionate about a lot of things.